You think humans are smart? Well, the majority of us do not even come close to this tiger who killed Vladimir Markov, the Russian hunter in charge of hunting down the tiger. Before we get into this terrible event, I kindly ask you to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you become a member of the Fierce Zone family. Thank you in advance. But what led to this hunter's death? Is it the normal course for tigers to attack humans? Or is it normal for Siberian tigers to attack humans? If not, then what was the prime cause of the hunter's death? Before we get into the specifics of the incident that led to the death, it is important to understand in what circumstances tigers generally attack humans if this tiger who killed Vladimir was any different from regular tigers. The age-old question is, why do tigers attack humans? Well, let's see if we can get to the bottom of this age-old mystery. First things first, let's get one thing straight. Tigers are wild animals, so it's important to remember, always treat them with caution and respect. Tigers in the wild are not the same as your regular domesticated tigers in zoos, so don't lose your cool when you see one, as you might have to bid goodbye to your life. And now with that being said, there are a few circumstances in which tigers might attack humans. First off, self-defense. If a tiger feels threatened, it might attack in self-defense. So if you happen to stumble upon a tiger in the wild and start yelling and waving your arms like a maniac, you might want to reconsider your approach. Next up, hunger. If a tiger is starving and humans are the easiest prey available, they might go in for the attack. Thirdly, habituation. If a tiger becomes accustomed to receiving food from humans and sees them as a source of sustenance, they might start attacking humans for a snack. So if you happen to see a tiger while you're out and about, resist the urge to offer it your sandwich. At last, predatory behavior. While rare, there have been instances of tigers attacking humans as part of the natural predatory behavior. So if you happen to see a tiger stalking you from the bushes, it might be time to start running. Now that we've understood, we need to see why this particular Siberian tiger attacked Vladimir. The tiger, known as amur or ustan by the villagers, was driven to attack humans due to a combination of factors. As it turns out, he simply could not catch a break. First, he gets kicked out of his cozy hunting grounds by a bunch of pesky rival tigers. And what do you do once you get out of your comfort zone? You explore other options. And so did Amur. Poor Amur was left to roam the wilderness, scrounging for food wherever he could find it. But alas, times were tough, and the food was scarce. So when Amur came across a group of humans going about their daily lives, seems like he could not help but think, hey, these guys look tasty and easy to catch. And before you know it, the attacks began. But was it the only thing that drove Amur to make these humans his dinner? Seems like there were other factors in play as well. In the end, it was not just about the food. As it turns out, these pesky hunters were also encroaching on Amur's territory, thus threatening his very survival. And as we all know, when our life's in danger, it's either do or die. The same was it for Amur. So it's not just a case of a hungry tiger lashing out. No, there's a deeper, more complicated story at play here. And thus began the battle for survival. Who do you think won? Humans who have the tendency to mark everything as their territory? Or the hungry tiger on whose lands humans were encroaching and making him their next hunt target? Both humans and Amur were fighting to protect what was theirs. Apparently, the fight was not as simple as it seemed. There were other considerations. The conflict was influenced by a variety of cultural and ecological factors, as well as the experience of the hunters and villagers as they struggled to deal with the attacks, which in turn had a psychological and emotional impact on them. Before we continue with this unbelievable event, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Thank you in advance. However, it's not completely a sob story when it comes to Amur, so let's not give him too much credit. Amur was no ordinary tiger. Amur was a cunning and formidable foe who outsmarted the villagers and evaded capture at every turn. As discussed, when Amur had nowhere to go, he turned to humans, the only source of sustenance readily available. At first, the villagers tried to brush off the attacks as isolated incidents, telling themselves it's just a rogue animal, it won't happen again. But as the attacks continued and the body count rose, it became clear that this was no ordinary tiger. This was a tiger with a vendetta. The way attacks were happening, it all seemed very calculated. The playoff between Vladimir and Amur started when Vladimir first came across the body of a half-eaten wild boar in eastern Siberia. The body did not seem too old as the blood was still fresh. But you know what it means, right? The danger had not subsided. The tiger was probably hiding somewhere in the bushes and watching Vladimir's each step cautiously. But how did Vladimir know that Amur would still be there? He could have simply eaten and left. This might have been true in the case of a regular tiger, but Amur was no regular tiger. He was the Siberian tiger. If he had killed a prey, he had feasted on it till there did not remain even a single drop of blood. So only one of them could remain alive at the end of the night. It was either Vladimir or Amur. There was no Vladimir and Amur. As Amur was meticulously approaching Vladimir, he got ready to fire his first shot. Luckily for Amur, he only got wounded and thought it smart to go back into the forest and come back later, so the threat was still there. In this game of Vladimir versus Amur, the vengeful tiger emerged on top as 2 days after this face-off, local authorities received the news of Vladimir's death. However, this was not it. The shocking thing was that he had not been killed then and there, but in the security or insecurity, so to say, of his home. The crime scene, the home, was a horrific picture. There was blood spilled and clothes scattered in all of the vicinity. As we discussed above, tigers do not necessarily kill for food. However, the situation was a peculiar one, as Amur ate like there was no tomorrow. He ate all that he could possibly eat. He had eaten a little more, and it would have been difficult to claim that a Vladimir Markov ever existed. However, this wasn't nearly it. The even more horrifying part is that not only did the tiger try to eradicate Vladimir's existence completely, he also destroyed everything around the area that had Vladimir's scent on. What this means is that Amur traveled a total of 11 kilometers from the place where he first encountered Vladimir. So while Vladimir thought that the threat had subsided, in reality, it hadn't, because Amur was closely watching Vladimir and following him back to his house. And once they had arrived, he waited for 48 hours. He waited for the perfect moment to come back to the lodge and seek his revenge. However, what exactly transpired on those 2 days still remains a mystery, which died with Vladimir's death. Nobody knew what encouraged Amur to kill Vladimir, or what was going on in his mind that led him to commit such a gruesome murder. One possible explanation might be that Amur saw Vladimir as a competition and threat to his livelihood, thus he decided to seek revenge. Here, what is commendable is Amur's dedication and planning. However, if he killed because he saw him as a threat to his survival, the moment Vladimir moved away from the boar and the location, that threat had subsided. Thus, the story would have ended then and there. But it seems like the tiger was in reality driven by revenge, a revenge to get back on Vladimir for shooting him. In the end, it is horrifying how Vladimir met his fate, and these exact events are such which are seldom repeated. However, the takeaway from this story is that it is better to be safe than sorry. So if you want to continue to live your precious life, avoid stealing food from an animal, especially if it is a Siberian tiger. And since you stuck with me till the end, I'd like to thank you for watching the video, and if you haven't already, I'd like to ask you to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one.